Have you ever found yourself completely obsessed with someone who's, kind of distant and emotionally unavailable? But at the same time, you're just bored by the person who's kind, attentive, and super into you. It's a really frustrating and confusing pattern. But trust me, it's not just you. So today, let's dive into this whole thing and explore the powerful psychology behind why we so often chase the very people who ignore us.
I mean, this is the big question, right? It's a situation so many of us know way too well. It feels like a total paradox, like there's a glitch in our emotional wiring. Why would our hearts and minds work against our own best interests? Well, what if I told you the answer has way less to do with love and a whole lot more to do with our own psychological programming?
You know the drill. Let's look at the two classic scenarios. You've got the available person. They text back right away, they're consistent, they clearly like you, and that should feel amazing, right? But our brain often slaps a label on it, boring. Then you've got the unavailable one, the hot and cold, unpredictable type, and somehow all that chaos gets labeled chemistry. We convince ourselves it's this passionate spark, but as we're about to see, that spark might actually be a huge warning sign. And that's really the heart of it right there. This feeling of obsession, it's not a sign of deep, true love. It's actually a sign that your brain's reward system is being completely hijacked. It's a powerful illusion, a psychological trick that makes us confuse anxiety for affection and longing for love. So let's break down exactly how this trick works, starting with our brain chemistry. Okay, so the first layer of this whole puzzle is about how our brain responds to unpredictability. And it's a phenomenon so powerful, it's the exact same principle that gets people addicted to gambling. They call it the slot machine effect. And once you get this, your dating patterns might start to make a whole lot more sense. So the scientific term for this is intermittent reinforcement. It's a core idea in behavioral psychology, but it's way simpler than it sounds. All it means is that the reward, a text back, a compliment, some attention, it doesn't come every single time. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. And that randomness, that unpredictability, is precisely what makes the behavior so incredibly hard to stop. The slot machine analogy makes this crystal clear. Picture it. If you never win, you're just going to get bored and walk away. And if you win every single time, well, that becomes predictable and kind of dull too. But that sweet spot in the middle, winning just often enough to keep your hope alive, that's what gets you hooked. You're not just playing for the coins you have, you're playing for the possibility of the next jackpot. And in dating, that jackpot is their attention. So what's actually happening inside your brain when they finally text back after 3 days of total silence? Boom, your brain releases this massive spike of a neurotransmitter called dopamine. It's the brain's reward chemical. And because that reward was so unpredictable, the high you feel is far more intense than a consistent, timely reply would ever be. You literally get hooked on that chemical high. This really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? It reframes the entire experience. It's not about the person you're chasing. It's about the addictive cycle they put you through. You have the tension and anxiety of waiting, and then that euphoric relief when you finally get that hit of attention. That's the addiction, not the connection. Now let's move to the next layer and see how this all builds. Because beyond just brain chemistry, there's this powerful game of perception and ego at play. It has to do with this simple economic principle that we apply, often without even realizing it, to our relationships, the value of scarcity. The scarcity principle is a super well-known cognitive bias. We're just wired to want what we can't have. You see it in marketing all the time, with limited edition stuff. The scary part? Our brains apply this exact same economic logic to people and their attention. And this is exactly how that principle plays out in dating. Abundant, freely given attention can subconsciously be perceived as low value. We might even get suspicious and think, wait, why are they so into me? What's the catch? But when someone's attention is rare, our brain marks it as a high-value luxury good. We start treating their time like it's this precious commodity we have to earn. And this is where our ego completely takes over. The pursuit is no longer about a genuine interest in the other person. No, it becomes a challenge, a quest to prove our own worth. That internal monologue becomes, if I can win over this difficult, distant person, it must mean I'm special. And that is an intoxicating thought. So the entire goal just shifts. It stops being about connection, about actually building something real together, and it becomes all about winning. The person is no longer a potential partner. They're a prize, a summit to be conquered. The focus is entirely on satisfying the ego.
Okay, now we're going to the deepest layer of this psychological puzzle. Because for many of us, this pattern isn't just about dopamine or ego. It's a deeply ingrained script that was written in our earliest years. We're talking about the echoes of childhood and how our brains can sometimes mistake pain for home.
Attachment theory is a huge cornerstone of modern psychology. Basically, it says that the way we bonded, or maybe failed to bond with our parents or primary caregivers, sets the template for all our future relationships. It's like the blueprint our brain uses to understand what love is even supposed to feel like.
I mean, think about it. Your very first experience of love came from them. If that love was consistent, warm, and secure, you learn that love is safe. But what if it wasn't? What if a caregiver was emotionally inconsistent, sometimes warm, sometimes cold, or just preoccupied and distant? Well, your brain learns a very different and pretty dangerous equation. You learn that love isn't something that's just freely given. It's something you have to earn. You learn that love feels like longing, like striving, like constantly trying to prove your worth just to get a scrap of affection. That feeling becomes your normal.
And this leads to what some psychologists call a repetition compulsion. Subconsciously, we seek out partners who make us feel the exact same way our inconsistent caregivers did. It's not because we enjoy the pain, it's because it feels familiar. And there's this deep unconscious hope that this time, if we just try hard enough, we can finally win the love we always craved and, fix that original wound. Okay, so after digging into the brain chemistry, the ego, and our childhood wounds, the big question is, how do we break the cycle? Well, the good news is that we absolutely can. It involves consciously retraining our brain to choose peace over that chaotic illusion of passion. So how do we actually stop the chase? Well, it starts with 4 key shifts in your mindset. First, you have to recognize that peace is not boredom. That calm feeling you get with a secure person, that's the absence of anxiety, the feeling of safety that you've been taught to crave. Second, you gotta reframe that missing spark. Understand it's not a lack of true chemistry, it's just the lack of that chaotic dopamine chase your brain got used to. Third, you need to detox. This means consciously choosing the boring but safe option and giving it a real chance to grow into something deep and stable. And finally, number 4, actively seek calm. Your goal should be a partner who settles your nervous system, not one who's constantly setting it on edge. And this is really the ultimate takeaway. This is the new mantra. A healthy, real connection isn't a game of pursuit where one person is constantly running and the other is constantly chasing. It's a partnership. It's about 2 people meeting in the middle, both willing, both present, and both secure. I'll just leave you with this final thought. It's a simple but really powerful question to ask yourself the next time you feel that urge to chase. The answer often reveals that the problem isn't your inability to catch them, but the fact that they never wanted to be caught at all. And that's a race you can't and shouldn't ever try to win.